Hi, I'm Aaron from Johnson Plastics Plus. Today we're going to go over white toner heat transfer, and we're going to go over the steps of the two-step standard paper and getting your image onto a shirt. What we're hoping to cover and what we're hoping to do is to help the customers that maybe are struggling a little bit, and maybe we can give you some tips and tricks on adjusting how you're doing the transfers and getting the marrying process down and things like that. Also, for any beginners that you can use this as a reference to go back and to try to remember a step if you forgot, or if you're having some issues, or just a refresher on some things that maybe you went over on your install. And the other person that might be interested in this is someone that's thinking about purchasing one and trying to see if the whole process will work for your business and how your workflow works. So there's a few steps that are involved, and we want to go over that here and go over the different things that we suggest you to do to start out. So the first thing that what I recommend customers to do is to do a few different printouts on your printer. When we go through the install process, we'll go through the RIP software and we'll get a first print for you, but then from there we kind of tell you what to do and kind of leave you on your own for a little bit. So what I suggest to do is do 5 or 6 printouts. The first printout I would suggest is find an image and shrink the image down so you can get 5 or 6 different images on a A4 sheet. And then from there, blow your image up. Don't do anything special with it, just blow it up and make it as big as you can on the A4 sheet. And then your last step you can do, this for instance is going to go on a black shirt, so we did Knock Me Out Black. And that will be the final process that we'll do to go onto a shirt. One of the reasons why we do the multiple images is if you have a test shirt, there's a good chance that on your first one you might not have a successful peel on your marrying process. But if you have some at the beginning that are good, you can use those images and then transfer that onto a test shirt and kind of see the process from start to finish. And then once you get your first ones done and you kind of feel good about it, you can go to the bigger one. And that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but by then hopefully you have the timing and the speed and everything of the marrying process down. So that's kind of like what we're going to go over today. A couple things that you will need. You'll need what comes with your purchase is a silicone sheet. You'll have some silicone sheets. I think there's a 10 in a pack. You'll have your two-step standard paper. That comes with an A and a B sheet. The A sheet is the sheet that you print on. The B sheet is the adhesive sheet. It has yellow writing on the back, and then the adhesive is on the front side. You want a t-shirt, a test print, or your final one if you feel comfortable with it. And then the last thing you'll need, of course, is a heat press. Heat press is pretty important. We recommend that you get a good quality heat press. And we also recommend a swing away heat press. Clamshell heat presses will work, but they can be a little finicky, and sometimes there's a little bit of a learning curve with that. Speaking of learning curve, I will also like to mention that this isn't a plug and play type technology. There is a learning curve, there is a technique, and sometimes it takes a little while to get the hang of things. So sometimes we suggest maybe before you take on some jobs, maybe wait a month or so and try to get the hang of things before you start feeling the pressure of getting a job done and you're just struggling with it. So sometimes that can be a little difficult when you're in the middle of that process. We sell the Fusion Hottronic Fusion heat press. We also have Geonite. Those are both great presses. Insta presses are good as well. If you're not sure about your heat press, sometimes if you call up, we'll send some samples and you can test it out, see if your heat press will work or not, and we can kind of go from there. So our next step is going to be going to the heat press and doing our first press. Okay, so now we're at our heat press. There's a couple important things that you need to do starting out with your heat press. The first thing you have to do is preheat your bottom platen. Each paper there's a few different two-step standard papers. Some of them require a longer preheat than others. The two-step standards, I think, maybe 5 minutes. So you don't have to clamp it down, just put it down to get enough heat on the bottom. On our two-step standard on this particular press, we're doing 310 degrees for 120 seconds or 2 minutes, depending on how your heat press is set up. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and preheat this bottom platen. We're getting it nice and hot. If you go through, and one of the things that I've learned over time is Sometimes you don't preheat it long enough. You're kind of in a hurry. If you do your first one and it doesn't particularly go well, do another one right away. Don't get upset. Just start another one, and there's a good chance that then your heat press will be heated up and ready to go. So we're going to preheat this thing for a little bit. We're going to once it's all heated up, then we'll go ahead and do our first press. Okay, so our bottom platen is heated up. So now we're going to do our first press for our marrying process, and that's doing the A and B sheets. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out our bottom platen. We are going to place our transfer, our A sheet down with our toner facing up. Then we're going to do our B sheet facing the toner, the adhesive on the toner, and then we're going to dog ear the back corner. What I'm going to do before we do the press, I'm going to kind of explain kind of what I'm going to try to do here. So one of the things I suggest people do is you're going to grab the edge with your thumb and forefinger, and when you do your peel, just take your fingernail and leave it on the bottom platen, and if it gets hot, just lift it up a little bit, and then you're going to do the same thing with your other hand. So you're going to peel with this, and then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to kind of pull, and you want to drag your fingernail on the bottom platen, and the same thing, if it gets hot, just lift it up a little bit. Some people use heat gloves, but sometimes it's hard to keep it in place, or sometimes you start to pull up. Our objective on this is we want to keep the paper on the heat source. We want to keep it as low as we can. We don't want it to cool off too fast. If it cools off too fast, the toner is going to pop off onto the B sheet, and that's not what we're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and dog ear this. We're going to put our silicone sheet that came with our paper on the over top of everything. That just basically protects the heat press from getting glue on the top platen. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And we're at a 4 to 5 pressure. This is going to go for 2 minutes. We're sitting at a 4 right now. Medium pressure is good. You don't have to go super heavy on this. I think that usually 4, 5, 6 range is usually pretty solid with this. Everybody's heat press is different. The environment plays a factor. So just because the instructions say do it at a 5, sometimes we have to play around with that a little bit. So we're going to let this run through, and then we're going to try to do our first peel. Okay, so we just finished up. So we're going to go ahead and lift our top platen up. Now, some instructions on the papers say to do a rub with a t-shirt or fabric. I try to recommend to try not to do that, just because there's some other variables that can play into that. So I'd say try to do a hot peel right away. So when you do your peel, you want to go kind of slow at the beginning. Just make sure that the adhesive's coming off. We're going to go slow, and then as I realize that the peel's going well, I can go a little bit faster. You want to go steady. The more you do this, the faster you're going to get. I've seen people really do this really quick, and as you can see, that popped off in the end right there. That's just something that you try to avoid. So as you kind of finish up, you want to slow up a little bit and try to get let the paper just release on itself. And we had a pretty good ending there. So what happened was that through the middle of this, there was just actually no resistance at all. There was it kind of lost all of its resistance. So as I was pulling, it was popping off. So this is a perfect example of why you want to do this on the first one, because I have, out of the 6, I've got 3, 4 really good ones. So these actually I could just go ahead and use and try to put this on a shirt if I wanted to. So from this, on a instance like this, I feel like I have a pretty good feel for how I want this how to do my pull, the speed. I did have a couple bad parts of it, but I think it was because it just released and popped off. So our next step is we're going to do the bigger one that doesn't have any Knock Me Out black on it, and then we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so now the next step we're going to do is we feel like we're at a pretty good spot where we want to try to go a little bit more advanced. So we're going to go with a little bit bigger image. We're going to see kind of how we do with that. Again, it's been some time, so I'm kind of preheating the bottom platen again. Again, it's always important to make sure that the bottom platen's hot. It's like the key to this whole process. So we'll go ahead and give this another shot. Dog ear that B sheet again. Now we're pressing again for 310 for 120 seconds, and then once that's done, we're going to give our peel another try. Okay, so our 2 minutes is up. Go ahead and slide this out. Take the edge, try to give this peel. We're going to go slow at the beginning, kind of speed up as we go. And again, the trick of this is when you get towards the end, you want the paper just to release on its own. You don't want to pull. And then as you get better at this, that kind of popped off, but we got lucky. So you had a good peel. There's no toner on the B sheet, so that means that from here, that's a perfect peel. And then this is ready for a shirt. So the next step we're going to do the one that has a Knock Me Out black, and then that's the one we're going to go to the shirt. Again, you can put this on a shirt. If you want to do this on a test shirt, you can do that too as well. The only thing with this is that it's going to have a plasticky feel. There's no what they call negative space in this image. So you want the shirt to show through. You want to find images that will work with the shirt color. That's kind of the rule of thumb is the more negative space you have, the softer the feel. So this has black in it. We're going to put on a black shirt, so we did the Knock Me Out black, which you'll learn on your pro rip training. And it'll give it a nice soft feel, and it will still get the color pop with the shirt showing through. So that's what we're going to do our next sheet that we printed out. All right, so now we feel good about our last peel. So now we're going to go from our big image to now the image that we want to go on onto the shirt. And I just wanted to show you a little bit the difference between the two. So this is the image that we did first, and this is the image that we're going to do now, and this is with the black knocked out. No, it doesn't look great, but we got to remember the shirt is going to show through, so that's going to give us our negative space and our good feel, soft feel. So I'm going to go ahead and go on top. Tends to curl when it gets hot, so I just always flip it back over. All right, another 2 minutes, and we'll see what we get here. So, all right, so we just finished our 2 minutes again. So here we're gonna do our peel. Slow at the beginning. This isn't going to have quite the resistance the other ones did because of the holes and the negative space in it, so it's going to be a little bit easier to pull. And slowing up and just trying to let it release on its own, and then we have a good feel again. So then from this process, we're going to go ahead and take this, and we're going to put this onto a shirt and do that next. Okay, so the next step is we're going to take our transfer that we just did, we're going to go ahead and put on a shirt. So one of the things that you want to do is you want to preheat your shirt, and you also want to lint roll your shirt. So if you have anything that's on the shirt, that will actually affect the transfer. So we're going to go ahead and put this shirt onto the press. I'm going to lint roll it real quick. You can kind of see that there's some lint on here. Brand new shirt, so not sure where the lint came from. And with this, you don't really need to clamp it all the way down. Just try to, if it starts to steam a little bit, that means there's moisture in it. Just wait until the steam part subsides. If there really isn't, it also helps with getting the wrinkles out, things like that. So 5-10 seconds usually is plenty. So now the shirt's ready to go. The next step in the process of your transfer is you want to make sure that you cut around the outer edge of the A sheet. You will get extra adhesive that will kind kind of leach out onto the A sheet. The B sheet's actually just a little bit smaller than what the A sheet is. They do that so that way it doesn't get all over your heat press, but we do need to cut around the edge. Now, if you accidentally forget to do that, there is a technique, and I think we have a video of how to remove any extra adhesive. And it's just really simple. All you gotta do is press it for 30 seconds with some heat tape, and then peel the heat tape off, and then the adhesive comes right off. So cut around the edge. I don't always recommend getting super close to your image because you need a place to start when you peel the transfer off. So we're going to go ahead and place this onto the shirt. And we're going to put our silicone sheet back on top. Now with this, we're going to go, we're going to keep it at 310. We're going to do it for 30 seconds. Each type of fabric, you can adjust your temperature. So 100% cotton, usually you can keep it at 310 or around there. Polyesters can be a little finicky, so you can actually drop the temperature on this step down to as low as 265, 270 to help with dye migration. So if you have a white in your image, you're doing it on a red shirt, your white's going to turn pink if you keep it at 310. So that's something that you can, I think in the instructions it talks about that, but we can also go over that with you during your training. So we're going to do 310 for 30 seconds with this step. Okay, our 30 seconds is up. I'm going to take off the silicone sheet, and then the next step in this is you have to wait for your t-shirt to completely cool. So you want to take it off the heat press, you want to put it on a table or something that, preferably a table probably. Some people I think hang it on chairs and things like that. You just want this to cool down. You do not want to peel this off hot. The toner will not stick to the shirt. You gotta, as the shirt cools, the adhesive on that you did from the B sheet will then adhere to the garment. So. Okay, so now that our transfer is completely cool, we're going to do what we call a roll-off on the A sheet off of the B sheet, or off the t-shirt, I'm sorry. So the thing you don't want to do, you don't want to just grab the edge of this and just peel it off. You want to roll it off. You're going to hear some crackling. If you hear crackling, you just push down a little bit harder on it, and then you want to roll it off. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And it's always good to kind of start where there's the most toner. It's kind of harder to start it sometimes if you have just little pieces of toner here and there. So I'm going to pick this top corner up here to start. So I'm going to roll it. I always tell people almost to act like you're going to crease it. And then you're going to take your hand and you're just going to roll it off. Let's get it started here. And kind of just roll it off. You can hear that crackling, and I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit more force down on it. It should just come right off. Crackling is not a bad thing. It's just that means it's just pulling a little bit, and you just you want to try not to do that. So so now we have it onto the shirt. As you can see, all the toner came off, and then our last step is going to be going back to the heat press and pressing it one last time. All right. So the final step is you're going to use a silicone sheet to do the final press. Now this last step does a couple things. Number one, if you look at this really close, you can kind of see how it's really shiny. A lot of people actually don't like that, and it does have a little bit of a plasticky feel to it. So with the silicone sheet, this final step, what it's going to do is going to push the toner into the shirt a little bit more. It's going to give it a little bit better adhesion. We also sell, besides the silicone sheet, we also sell what's called a T-seal. The T-seal is actually, it's a little bit, I would say it's a little bit better than the silicone sheet. It's got a rubbery texture to it, and it pushes actually the toner into the fibers actually a little bit more than what the silicone sheet does. A lot of people use the silicone sheet, they're happy with it. It's kind of more of a personal preference than anything. The silicone sheets are perfectly fine and do a great job. So what we're going to do with this last press, we're going to put the silicone sheet over top. We're going to press it again. For this one, because we're on cotton, we're just going to keep it at 310 for 30 seconds. Doesn't have to be a full 30 seconds. It can be, you can do 20, 30 seconds, whatever works best. But for this instance, we're going to do 30. So, okay, our 30 seconds is done. So with taking off the silicone sheet, just carefully just pull it off. You can kind of see that shine kind of went away. It has a much better feel. And now the shirt is done and it's ready to go. So with this press, what we're going to do is we're going to try to mimic an issue that sometimes people have, and that's the toner coming off on the B sheet. Normally what this does is, or the reason for this is because the papers have cooled down too much, and then the toner is actually sticking to the B sheet. So we're going to go ahead and mimic that, or try to mimic that on this press to see, and then I can explain on maybe some of your troubleshooting techniques that you could do to fix that. So I'm gonna let this cool down a little bit. Okay, so so as you can see here, the toner is actually sticking to the B sheet, and this is exaggerated a little bit. I don't expect it to be like that every time for you guys, but if you see that where the toner is actually popping off or coming off on your B sheet, that is usually an indication that the bottom heat planting is not heated up all the way, or you might be going a little too slow. So that's just one of the things that could happen if you're new to this that you might come across. All right, so we just concluded our shirt, and everything looks great. So the next thing I want to talk about is maybe some troubleshooting techniques. There are some issues that you might come across when you're trying to do this for your first time, or maybe you've been struggling for a little bit. One of the things that we always recommend that before you call us, or before we're based off of the appointment kind of scheduling system here. So one thing that we like to have you do is keep your A and B sheets. Don't throw them away, even though they're bad. Every issue that you're having with the B sheet or your marrying process, that there's information on those B sheets for us. So a lot of times we'll ask you to take pictures and send those to us, and that the little things that we might pick up on might be able to help you in the future during your call to try to help resolve your issue. The other thing that maybe comes across that you're having issues with is if you have a clamshell heat press. On a clamshell heat press, it distributes the pressure from the front to the back as it comes down. Sometimes they don't give even pressure. So one of the things that if you feel like every time you do a peel, it's good at the beginning or at the back of the press, but as it comes up, you're getting toner sticking to the B sheets or just not having good results. One of the ways that you can fix that is add 10 seconds to your time, or 5 seconds to your time, press it, and then flip it 180 degrees. So you're gonna press it, you're gonna flip it 180 degrees, and press it for the other half of the time. Usually that resolves that issue. Happens a lot with the clamshells, and it's just a quick fix that you can do really, and then have good results. You don't have to buy a new heat press. But other than that, I think that's everything. Thank you for watching, and if you have any issues, don't be afraid to reach out. Again, this is Aaron from Johnson Plastics Plus.